you want to go? Go to a place. I want to go. Go to a place. Do you want to go? Go to a place. I wanna go to a place. I can take you there. I can take you there. Do you wanna go to a place? I can take you there. Say there. Do you wanna go to a place?
Search far and wide by your side. Far and wide by your side. Search far and wide.
Hello, nieces, nephews, sisters, and brothers. Welcome to Mosaic with TJ Randolph. I am TJ Randolph, and I say mosaic because I am a work of art made of many broken pieces. So, can you all hear me okay? If so, please put a 1 in the chat. If you can hear me okay, please put a 1 in the chat. I didn't have much time to advertise this because I really wasn't expecting to do it. But I feel compelled. Shout out to M Mills. Thank you so much. You can see I'm not, dolled up or anything. I've been running errands, doing my wifely duties and stuff like that. Fix my hair. But I got to come to you. So let's go ahead and get the announcements out of the way, and let me go ahead and do some disclaimers, okay? So shout out to my baby, my hardworking trucker man, and all the truckers that are traveling these highways and byways to bring us our much needed goods and keep the supply chain going. Shout out to my firstborn nephew, Ryan Spunk Adams, song Noun. Follow him on all streaming platforms, and you can follow him on IG under I Am Spunk. Shout out to my niecey poo, Lucky Maree. She's so lucky who put together my intro. I love it. And again, shout out to my niecey poo who provided the cute little outfit that my G baby wore for her first Easter egg hunt. Okay, let me offer some disclaimers. Yes, I'm emotional. Yes, I'm sensitive. Yes, all of those things that you want to assign to this stream, I'm going to go ahead and get out the way. Yes, I'm all of that. Okay. So you can go ahead and go run with it, because I'm letting you know right now, I'm sensitive, I'm emotional, all that. Okay. So now that we got that out the way, let's get into it. I've been trying to take the high road with respect to this foolishness that is going on with Miss Pearly Things, because as I stated in my previous live, at this juncture, it's not even about her. Okay. It's about us and how we think about us and how we think about each other. And in as much as I have pleaded for us to act in such a way that is civil, even if we don't agree. Shout out to El Wapo for, again, he talked about how he doesn't see eye to eye with the lead attorney in certain things, but because that's his brother, that's his brother. And he's not going to say anything disparaging, even though he may see things differently. Even though I have pleaded and requested that we do that, it appears that we can't do that. But what really got me today? You saw the thumbnail, okay? Slavery was embellished. You saw the title. Not only was slavery embellished, many slave owners loved and took care of their property, i.e., their slaves. The reason why I talked about that is because I happened to be in a YouTuber's chat and watching. He's actually still live now. And I saw a couple of Black men specifically, talk about how they believe that slavery was embellished. So I write words to the effect. So slavery was embellished, even though I have stories from my family members, to include my great grandmother, how she was assaulted, resulting in a mixed race child being born. My great grandfather not being able to do anything about that. And so the person, and I addressed it to that person in the chat, and I said, so you're saying that it was embellished, just given that, and that's just my family story? And they said, well, yes, it is, even though I do agree it was bad. That prompted me to do this, because in a minute, there are going to be those of us who are not only going to say that slavery was embellished, there are those who are going to say that it didn't happen at all. In just a few moments, in just a few years, there are going to be those who say, or who are going to say, not only did it not happen, but our ancestors wanted to come over here and be subjugated. That's going to be the narrative now, and I'm offended by it. I'm offended by it. I ain't gonna call nobody names, because that's not what I'm doing. But not only is it insulting to my family, it's insulting to everybody's family who has their own similar stories, similar accounts told to them by their family members. So they lying? We have situations just like a lot of Vietnam vets. Stories were so bad, some of them still can't tell it without breaking out in sweats. My uncle, one of them. So that was a war that they, were drafted into. So are you going to tell me, and families like mine, that it wasn't that bad? I feel like cursing right now, but I'm working on it. How dare you? How dare you? My mother lives in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Do you know what they still have in the center of town? Can anybody guess what they have in downtown Fayetteville to this day? I'm going to give you a minute. Any guesses? Any guesses? What they have in downtown Fayetteville? They have the square where slaves were sold on the auction block. It's still there. Now, of course, they've decorated it and, refurbished it, but that's what it was. They have in the middle of the town square, they have the auction block. I am so pissed at this moment. So It caused me to go into the recesses of my mind and recount some of the stories that my family has told. Okay? People want to talk about how, the color purple, aspects of the color purple, it's just not real, and it's make it happen much worse than it was. Let me tell you something. I got a story that my mom told me, and it's on an interview. You can go check it out on my channel so you can hear her words. Because I think it was my first video I did, and it's kind of grainy, so the quality is not that great. I was trying to figure it out, but I remember what she told me. And this is after slavery. And let me give you some context. My grandfather, one of 11 children, born in 1910. My grandmother, his second wife, born in 1878. Okay? So that means my great grandmother was born in the 1800s. Okay? I'm gonna show you a few pictures before I get into it, because I'm heated. I'm heated. And like I said, go ahead and say I'm emotional. Go ahead and say I'm sensitive. Go ahead and say all of it. Say all. I want to say all of it. All of it's true. Let's go. My grandfather was born in 1910 in Shreveport, Louisiana. We know that there were slaves there too. Let's see. Share screen. Chrome tab. Entire screen. You see this handsome young man right here? Let me do right this. That is my grandfather. That is my grandfather. You see he's chocolate. Okay? Born in 1910. That's my grandfather right there. Again, chocolate. Those are my grandfather and his brothers. Chocolate. Fine. Chocolate. So to give a little context, to go back, I know I'm all over the place, I'm kind of heated, so just work with me, not against me. In the late, even after slavery, my mother recounts a story because my mom and siblings were the first generation to grow up in California, but many of the other brothers and sisters still stayed in Shreveport for a while. So my mother told me that when she would get ready to go to Shreveport to visit her aunts and uncles, they lived in a small town outside of Shreveport. I forget the name of it. But when they would get ready to go into the town, how her aunt and uncle would drill her in how to act when they went into town, because if she would have said yes or looked in the eye of a white person, or just said yes or no without saying sir or ma'am, how it could have resulted, what the impact could have been, not only for her, but for her aunt and uncle. Shall I say Emmett Till, because again, he was from Chicago, went down south. So this is after slavery. My mother said that they would drill her, over and over and over. And it was almost as if they were afraid to take my mother into this town because they didn't know what this little sassy California girl would say. They would have got beaten. And this is after slavery. This is after slavery. But see, my grandfather and his brothers recounted stories. And because of those stories, that's why many of them had to flee Louisiana to get to California. How dare you? How dare you? Like I said, some in just a few years, some of you are going to say slavery never happened because some are so ignorant, not only to jump on the bandwagon and say slavery was embellished. Man, I some of you all are going to tell your children and children's children not only was it embellished, but it never happened. Now, am I to suggest because it did happen that we are just supposed to be perpetual, languish in perpetual misery? Absolutely not. If anything, it's because of the stories that my ancestor and my grandparents and uncles and aunts told me that propelled me to do the things that I've done in my life. Because I had opportunities that they didn't. But what have, shout out to Courtney Michelle, did a show last night. What has propelled us to hate ourselves? What is that? Okay, let me at least see some chats in here. People are putting some quotes to some books. Let me take a look at it. I'm irritated. Please hit the like button. Hey Eugene. Hey Hatch Dragon. I'm disgusted. But then say, well, yeah, it was embellished, but it was still bad. Excuse me? So are we to suggest, y'all saw that, are we to are we to suggest that after slavery ended, then Jim Crow and all that, with it being bad enough with Jim Crow, are we to suggest that it wasn't even worse? Are we to suggest that? Really? I remember the stories that even after slavery, my grandfather telling me the stories of them having to prove that they could read certain things to be able to vote. What? And this was after slavery. So are we to suggest that before the end of slavery, it wasn't worse? Because they had no say so, even though, and they really had no say so after slavery. They was really scared then. I couldn't believe what I was reading in the chats. So is it any wonder people such as Pearly Fangs and Nick Fuentes can say what they say when we are saying it ourselves? I take exception to that. So here we go. I want you, if you believe that slavery was embellished and the tragic stories that people in my family and other families have told were made up, I want you, hold on. I want you to unsubscribe to my channel right now. I don't need your support. I don't. Because see, I'm doing this as a hobby. I don't need your support because it is a slap in the face to me and my family and other families who know otherwise. Please, I appreciate your support up until now, but I don't need it. I don't. Let's go. Let me see what I got here. Book Blacked Out Through the Whitewash, Exposing the Quantum Deception, Rediscovering Depressed Melanated People. Okay, I'm gonna get them on Amazon. Yeah. And then, oh my gosh, that man, let me tell you something. Oh my God, are you serious? That's too late. Some Black people in that support the indigenous movement have, man, man, again, I, I appreciate your support until now, up until now, but I don't want it going forward. Don't need it. Don't need it. Because I remember my daughter, when she was in high school, before she graduated from high school, coming to me trying to tell me what they were putting in the history books in Virginia. Oh yeah, I went in on that. How dumb are we? I'm disgusted. Ooh, man, I'm trying not to curse. I'm trying not to I'm trying not to curse. I have more pictures, but I'm not going to show that much of my family because I don't have to. What? Oh my God. The indigenous movement. See, not only do I have Black ancestors, I have Native American ancestors. My grandmother, who was born in the 1800s, would move to Oklahoma as part of the Trail of Tears. Okay. So, oh my God. What have, I can't even get it out. I'm so frustrated that we're that dumb. We're a bunch of educated fools. We're a bunch of educated fools. Slavery was embellished. Huh. I wish I could go back and tell my great grandmother that. I wish I could go back and tell my uncle, who's a result of the violation of my great grandmother, that. Y'all really want me to curse, don't you? Okay, I'm really trying not to. I can't. Again, I lived in Virginia. I was stationed in Virginia. Shout out to Fort Monroe. There is a placard on the beach there at Fort Monroe may be open to the public now, but at the time I was working there, it was not. And they had a placard on the beach because slave ships came through there. So are you trying to tell me with a straight face that they volunteered to come on to hitch a ride on the slave ship? Is that what y'all trying to tell me with a straight face? We have really sold our souls here. There's a book also, The Souls of Black Folk. Have y'all heard that one? I forget who it's by. I think I have it somewhere, but we have really sold our souls. And I think we're lost. And I never thought that I would say that or believe it. But to see the number of people in that person's chat, mostly men, but there were some women too, who said, yeah, it was embellished. They're trying to use it to control us. They're trying to, perpetual victims. I'm disgusted. Yes, Black codes. I think about, like I said, I've tried to really stay out of the back and forth concerning pearly things because again, she is who she is, and at this juncture, it's like I said, it's not about her. I think it's sad and how people are rallying to defend certain actions, but people have a right to their own opinions. But I'm gonna digress for a little bit. In that YouTubers that's still running now, I think going live now, they were talking about Sarah Garvey and his pocket watching, if you will, and not understanding why that he was making a big deal out of somebody's contract and why he even brought it up. To my recollection, based on his video, he didn't bring it up. Pearl did. He inquired about the contract or contracts, and she says, you're on the high end. Okay. You're on the high end, which caused him to investigate further or to inquire further. And she disclosed the low end. So he asked the question, she didn't have to answer it. If it was that private. That's just my personal opinion. And the reason, in my opinion, that he brought it out was to suggest that possibly that was improper, or possibly that was taking advantage of other people to give them an opportunity to make the choice if they want to make it. Again, that's what I surmise. But she said, according to him, that what she was offering him was a high end. And when he inquired about the low end, she explained that, which she did not have to do. That's just my take on it. And me personally, I would want to know if I'm getting taken advantage of it, and let me make an informed decision. That's me. Now, if they feel good with the contract, if they like it, I love it. Again, but I don't fault him for bringing it to light. And let me tell you something. I don't normally agree with Jessica X in a lot of things. But she had a good question. Was a 70-30 split based on the content that was on her channel, or was it based on his content on his too? Because then that would be a little bit more, to me, a bit excessive. Because again, if I'm already a YouTuber and I'm making my own content, making 100% of what I'm doing on my channel, why would I give up that to make 30% on yours? That's just me. Now, if you're talking about you make 70% of whatever I do on your channel and I get 30, okay, I get that. But does that include what I do on mine too? That's no bueno. That's no bueno. But the fact that so many of us are trashing this man, I'm inclined to believe that many of you, they don't know what integrity is. They don't. Do I know him? No. Do I know her? No. But have I been in that position that he's been in? I absolutely have. It's called whistleblowing. And when you whistleblow, are they going to come back and say, well, yeah, you're absolutely right? No, they're going to make you look like you're the problem. Yeah, I've been there. They're going to make it look like, no, we haven't done anything wrong. It's them. They're the problem. It's called whistleblowing. I had to protect whistleblowers when I was in the military, and I had to be protected when I was one outside. Again, did those people who were in power come and say, yes, what we are being accused of, we absolutely did that? No, they didn't. They turned and tried to make it like I was the one that was wrong, or the other person that was wrong, until the investigation showed otherwise. Like I said, is she racist? I don't know. Is she naive? I don't know that either. Is she ignorant? Absolutely. But I'm not sure what's worse, what she does or those who enable her to do it. Those who say of our kind, slavery was embellished. Telling that to people in the audience like me, like I said, whose people had to flee Louisiana before they got lynched. Those are my people. Telling people like me, again, after slavery, whose mom was grilled before going into town so they would not be subjected to beating should my mother say the wrong thing to a white person. You disgust me. And like I said, I appreciate your support up until now, but I don't need it going further if that's what you think, if that's the way you think. Because again, am I suggesting that because my family was subjected to slavery, that should be, the reason that I don't do nothing with my life, or I just a perpetual victim? Absolutely not. But for you to disavow it, I want nothing to do with you. Nothing. And would I have my auntie in here who about to turn 80, who recounts the stories of her father and grandfather? How dare you get the F on? So again, I'm sensitive, I'm emotional, I'm all those things. I am. All of it. All of it. Sure am. I'm disgusted. The hell? So, any of you in the chat, do you have stories or you have stories from your ancestors that were recounted about the things that your grandparents, great grandparents, or the like, they suffered? Look at these freckles here. Well, how you think I got them over time, the generations? Any guesses? Shoot, y'all got me crazy up in here. It's like, and that's what they're talking. And see, again, they want to malign this man for bringing it out. Again, it's called whistleblowing. But they want to call him an opportunist. They want to call him a turncoat. Well, but was he lying? Was he lying? And there's another thing. I'm all over the place. I don't care. Shout out to What the Funk. He asked a question on the channel about the stop it, about the striking. And the guest on the channel was saying that he was in a video that was not authorized to be shown. But the question was, that wasn't the video that was proposed to be struck. These were videos, shout out to El Wapo, that was September last year, May last year, all these last year. I think maybe one this year. If it was a problem, why wasn't it a problem then? Are we really that dense? Are we really that dense? Hold on. Oh, are we really that dense? My grandmother was light-skinned, freckle-faced Native American, and she married a dark-skinned African American man. Yeah. Well, mine came from other places. Okay. I wish I could find a picture of my Uncle Bud. Let me see if I can find that. The picture that I'm trying to tell you all about. And you can understand the words that are coming out of my mouth if I can find it. If I can find it. But I mean, let me see if I can find this picture. Yeah, hold on. Hatch Dragon is putting in some work with these books. No, I didn't cuss out the dog. I didn't cuss out the dog. I did not. I was trying to find a picture of my uncle, and you would understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. But you know what? I'm not gonna do it because I don't want nobody else to exploit my stuff. But anyway, I found I found it distasteful. I find it shameful. I find it reprehensible, and I'm offended. And I think it's offensive to any person of color who knows, who have stories, family stories. I went to college with people who had stories like my family. I talked to professors who had stories like my family. And you're gonna sit up here and in a forum that thousands of people are watching and give credence to the to what Pearly Things and Nick Fuentes said. Well, I think it was embellished. Yeah, they just do that because they try to control us. And you, as a Black person, gonna say, yeah, I think it was embellished too. What? Oh my God. We're lost. We're absolutely lost. And then, man, shout out to El Wapo. Integrity. It is apparent to me that a lot of people in these streams have none. Have none. And when I say integrity, it's not because I want you to agree with every position that I'm taking, but to understand people's motivations for certain things. He thought what she was doing was wrong. And he thought that people should know that. Again, so they can make informed decisions. But see, I will contend now, not only was slavery real, it continues, but it's slavery of the mind. Mm-hmm. It's slavery of the mind. And I'm going to say this, all money ain't good money. All money ain't good money. And I can't be bought. Please understand, I've turned down many a promotion in my lifetime. I've turned down many opportunities because, see, my integrity can't be bought. And it's because what my ancestors went through, it can't be bought. It's because of what my grandfather, great-grandfather, great-grandmother went through, I can't be bought. Disgust me. Disgust me. I'm absolutely disgusted. Yeah, tell the truth, shame the devil. And I'm going to tell you something. When my grandfather and his brothers fled Shreveport to California, they didn't go back for 40 years. But you gonna sit up here. How dare you? So just so we're clear, if I have to repeat it several times throughout this broadcast, I appreciate your support up until now, but I don't need it going further. If that's what you think of the plight of our ancestors, that was embellished, I don't need your support and I don't want it. No, it wasn't safe to go back there. They had to leave in the middle of the night because folks was looking for them, if you know what I mean. So, you know, I don't submit that because of slavery that we can't or shouldn't aspire to do great things because we can. We have. We continue to do so. But I completely reject those who would suggest that it was embellished. So again, going back to what I said earlier, are those Vietnam vets who one was my uncle, who still can't talk about the stories without breaking down the cold sweat? Are we to suggest that their stories were embellished? Are we to suggest the impact of what they saw and experienced was embellished because we can't identify it with it? Because so that was back then, so you think it didn't happen? You really want me to cuss you out, don't you? Mm. You live in Hampton, Virginia? Because if you're in Hampton, Virginia, you know what I'm talking about at Fort Monroe. Are you in Hampton, Virginia? Yes. Okay. You know what I'm talking about then. You know what I'm talking about. Yes, I was at Fort Monroe, the beach. It has the placard there where the slave ships came up. Am I right? Am I right? I have a picture of my daughter on the beach for her 16th birthday because I was working at Fort Monroe at that time. 16th birthday on that beach. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. The placard is still there. But you're going to tell me it's embellished? The square in the center of Fayetteville, North Carolina, where the slaves were auctioned? The fuck? Oh, excuse me, the hell? It's still there. It's embellished though. Huh. I want to propose something to you. A lot of the movies that we're seeing nowadays, some sci-fi, some not, we're coming to find out that the movies that we may be seeing now, like even as it relates to artificial intelligence, those things were happening way before the movie even came out to show it. What makes us think that the movies, of course, poetic license notwithstanding, what makes us think that many of the movies that show slavery, that wasn't really happening? Or even worse, art imitating life. Same thing. I talk about, the movie The Siege. The Siege came out in, I think, 1990 something, in the 1990s. The movie came out, The Siege, where it talked about that basically we had incels working with the CIA, and they were planning to bomb various places throughout the country. That was prior to 9/11. So those things were happening long before it came to the big screen. So again, the same thing with slavery. Those things were happening before we heard about it, before it was written about. And you want to make seem like it was a embellishment? The nerve. The hell? And the plaque at Buckrow Beach for the largest black-owned beach resorts before the hurricane. Really? Plagued. Oh my gosh. And it plagued. Oh, and a plaque. I'm sorry, and a plaque. Mm, mm, mm. See, and you got me. This thing. See, again, yes, yes, but they want to try to make sure that that didn't happen either. Wait a minute. Okay, no, it was a building in the middle of. No, it's the square in downtown Fayetteville. It's in the middle. It's like a roundabout in the middle of Fayetteville, and there's a plaque there that talks about that slaves were sold on the auction block in that square. Yeah, it's there. It's there. Please hit the like button. So I need to understand. No, I don't. I don't need to understand because it's clear to me that some people just want to say stuck on stupid, and you keep that over there. Keep that over there. Because again, I understand that and know that slavery happened, and I know what my grandfather was subjected to even after slavery, and it's because of that I am and have done in my life what I was able to do. Everything I've done professionally in my life, I did because he wasn't able to. And he didn't have no grandsons. So I did it. So I went into the military. I became an officer because he couldn't. Yes, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine. How are you doing, sir?
Good. I don't know if we've ever talked before, but I've seen you on several panels, and I want to say thank you for your common sense in this whole situation that's been going on in the past few days. I think you've had one of the most sensible takes out of anybody, and I'd appreciate you doing this stream here, talking about our history in this country, right? So, I am what would be considered ADOS or FBA, whichever one you want to use. I come from
Mhm.
that line of people, and one of the things that always annoys me about the talk about slavery is how if somehow you bring it up or you talk about it, you're somehow playing victim, or I've been told that like you're mentally shackled to the past. Um, for one, I to talk about black people in this country and not talk about slavery, not talk about Jim Crow is almost like trying to build a house without a foundation. I don't, I don't look at it to play victim because we
Right.
do still have to compete. We do still have to move forward. We have to progress as a people. But I
Hmm.
look at it from a source of gratefulness, being thankful that my ancestors went through all that stuff, went through not that stuff, went through traumatic stuff, went people were killed, people were terrorized, people were treated as
Yes.
second class citizens, so that we can get on the internet and a lot of us make light of it.
It disgusts
The,
me.
the only way we have the right to for some of us to make light of it is because those people previous to us went through that hell. I don't understand why talking every other group. It's almost like, and I know you don't like want to cuss, so I try to keep it PG, right? But I don't understand why black people and specifically black American people have to operate completely opposite of every other group on the planet. No other group on the planet dismisses their history. None. None. My wife is Mexican American. She's first generation. You still have Mexicans that refer to themselves as Mayans and refer to themselves as Aztecs. because of the history of the bloodline they come from. And they
Yes.
do that as a source of pride. You have people who have immigrated here who get the tattoo of their places they've never been, get that tattoo on their body as a place of pride. But somehow the fact that my ancestors survived the worst form of slavery ever known to man, survived being second-class citizens, the original apartheid, because apartheid in South Africa was modeled off of Jim Crow. They always want to bring that out.
Speak on it. Speak on it.
The fact that I bring that up and I'm looking at it from a lens of appreciation and a lens of gratitude that they did that, so I can do what I do today and just be a full citizen as playing victim. The gall.
It disgusts
like,
me.
But here's the thing. I don't expect other groups to care. It's not really their place to care, honestly. It's not their fight. It's not a struggle. But when it comes from my own, like I was talking to Alan from We Need to Talk the other day on his panel, on his streams, and he kept bringing up the cognitive dissonance, and like he hit me, he caught me off guard with it. What is the cognitive dissonance with a lot of our people when it comes to this? And I don't have an answer for it. I don't get it. Why is that? Why is appreciating your history, as traumatic as some of that stuff may be, a negative? And why is it? People keep bringing up the small hat people in the what happened in World War II. They don't look at that as a source of victimization. They look at that as a source of, okay, we went through this and we still moving forward. We still are prospering despite it.
And they won't let you forget. They won't let you forget.
They won't let you forget.
And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either. I don't have a problem with Native Americans bringing up what happened to them. I don't have a problem with immigrants bringing up, however they may have got here, bringing up their immigrant story. It's part of your history. You can't,
right.
You can't remove your history and just act like every generation is a reset button and now you're just a fresh nothing. That's not how that works. And like I'm not one to look at people and say, oh, you hate yourself or you're anti this, but it's like the more and more I listen, it's like, do you not hate yourself? Like what is it? Why is this such something that people want to run from so much? I don't understand it.
I'm really frustrated. I'm tired of people talking about the victim Olympics. Like you said, to acknowledge something is not to say that you're still victimized from it. Again, it's because of what my grandmother, my grandfather, all of them went through, that I have done the things I've done in my life.
Right.
Because they did not have the opportunity to. It is because of what they went through that I do speak out. It is because of what they went through that I have been a whistleblower, because I'll be damned if I see something going wrong, particularly as it relates, just wrong, period. I'm not going to say nothing. It's because of them.
Right.
It's because of them.
And like, for example, my parents, I'm 34, so I guess I'm considered millennial. My parents are actually boomers, so they waited a while to have me and my brother. So, but my I don't know much about my mom's side because she was the only child, and all of my grandparents are dead at this point. But both my grandfathers died the year I was born, and my maternal grandmother, my mom's mom, died when I was like 12. So I don't really know a lot about her side of the family, but I know a lot about my dad's side of the family because he was one of 15. And I had his mother, she died like 3 years ago. She lived to be 99 years old. My father, the first 10 or 11 of their children, including my father, they were sharecroppers in South Georgia. He was born in a shack, a literal shack. I still have pictures of it, on a sharecropping farm. And to know what he went through, what my grandparents went through, what a lot of my aunts and uncles went through. Like, these are actual people. Like, this is not just a history book to me.
Right.
And so even though I might not know the exact names of maybe some of my ancestors that were slaves, because maybe some of that history has been cut off, those people existed. And I know they existed because I'm here.
Hey.
So
Exactly.
to just throw that away or just say we should let that go means that those people's sacrifices, it doesn't mean anything, or that those people didn't mean anything. That's bullshit. I'm not gonna do that, and you're not name call me or call me a victim, or no, I'm not a victim. It's no different than like Memorial Day. Like, would you call if we keep talking about if we talk about the soldiers that died, and let's say I was born in '88, so let's say World War II or the Civil War.
Or
Are we just supposed to, or
Vietnam War.
Vietnam? I had an uncle that went through Vietnam, and it screwed his life up.
Me
And
too.
so if since I wasn't there for that, or I wasn't alive for that, does that mean that don't matter?
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Are we to suggest the stories from the Vietnam vets, many who still suffered, who still languish?
Right,
Are we to suggest because we weren't there that it didn't happen? Or the
right,
stories that they're telling us from what they saw is embellished? How
right,
dare you?
exactly. Or you think about like the opening scene on Saving Private Ryan. That's a hard scene to watch.
Man,
But people actually went through that. I remember seeing someone about it when they talk, like, because every year they bring Memorial Day, and they talk about last summer, because there's not many of those veterans left are still alive. But and one of the veterans talked about, he said when he first saw that movie, he could smell the diesel
mm,
from, and he had to get up and walk out because it was that embedded in his mind. So if you told him that was embellished just for you know, or he's playing the victim for still bringing it up, he punch you in the face, and he'd be right to do so.
let me tell you something. I don't know if you're too young to remember this, but there's also a movie called Platoon.
I've seen it. Yeah,
Oliver Stone. When
yeah,
that
yeah.
movie came out, I remember being in the theater. The movie was out. In the middle of the movie, they had to turn the house lights on and get a man out of there because he was a Vietnam vet and he had flashbacks right in the middle of the movie. They had to turn the house lights on and get him out of there.
I bet.
But you gonna tell him that was embellished? How dare you? You gonna tell the people who like it's my grandfather was born in 1910. I was his first grandchild. I sat at my grandfather's feet and listened on his lap and listened to many a story. And because I was the first grandchild, I was around a lot of them. Even though I was too young to understand what I was hearing at the time, but as I got older, it made sense. How dare you? As a child, I always knew that my uncle was lighter than everybody else because did you see the picture of how chocolate my grandfather and his brothers are, except the oldest? I didn't put it together until I was grown.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bring it up. Let me bring it up. Hold
Yeah,
on a
I
minute.
missed that 'cause I came in late. I just started watching like maybe
Let
5 minutes
me get
ago.
the okay. Let me show you this real quick. Let me show you this. This is my grandfather. This is my grandfather right here, and these are his brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You see how dark these men are, right?
Right.
His oldest brother was so fair skinned, blue eyes, and fine hair.
Right.
The oldest of 11. Now, I know and hearing things, as children here, but didn't put it together until I was grown. I'm like,
Right.
but you gonna tell me and families like mine what didn't happen? All was embellished? When my great grandfather had to look at a child that he knew wasn't his because he was basically white and he
You couldn't do
couldn't
nothing
do
about it.
nothing. How dare you? How dare you? I don't need and don't want your support. If that's what you think, take your unsubscribe.
And
Please.
and let me mention, because people keep talking about Roots and how Roots was was plagiarized, and I've read stuff about that it was plagiarized, and okay, cool. What does that have to do with the actual stuff that happened?
Well, according to them, it didn't, because it's called poetic license.
That's what I'm saying. Take roots out of it. There's a lot of like actual just history books about what's happened. There's been actual recordings from people that lived it about what happened. A lot of the stuff we still, again, the victim Olympics, a lot of stuff we still deal with today is because of what happened. Like, I don't think people understand this. Black Americans in my lifetime, like we talk about immigrants, how immigrants, some first generation, second generation, right? I'm the first generation in my family to be born a full citizen in this country with full rights in 1988.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because my dad was born in 51, my mom was born in 49. They didn't have full rights in Jim Crow, Georgia and Alabama.
Okay, you're right.
So in 1988, I was my parents' first child, first generation. I had cousins that were born before me, but I'm of that same generation. We're the first generation of my family to be born as full citizens in the country.
Well, Dub, I was talking about that.
I don't understand why this don't click with a lot of people.
I was talking about how I don't know why I still got this background of that girl, but just play like you don't see it.
I didn't even notice that.
I was talking about how my mom was born in the late 40s. And my mom and her siblings, they were first generation Californians because my grandfather and his brothers had to flee Louisiana in the middle of the night because of some stuff concerning white folk.
Right.
So my mom and her siblings, they were first generation Californian. So, but they had family in Shreveport. So there were summers that my grandfather would send them to Shreveport. And I forget the name of the town, but it was outside Shreveport. It's a little small town outside of Shreveport for the summer. So when they would go and that my mom's aunt and uncle, or they had a house that had an outhouse. They didn't even have, indoor plumbing. Mm-hmm. So when they got ready to go to town, if you will, I guess it was Shreveport or whatever, my mother would told me, and again, like I said, you can hear it in her own words. My first video I did when I started my channel almost 2 years ago, like I said, the quality is not that great because I know I was doing. Out of her own mouth, she talked about how her aunt and uncle would drill her about how she was to act when she went into town with them to make sure that she was not looking white folks in the eye, to make sure that if they talked, if a white person asked her something, that she said, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, because again, my mother said that because that's what my grandfather fled from, he didn't make them say, yes, sir, no, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, just as long as you said yes or no. So when they went to Shreveport, her aunt and uncle would drill into them, do not look them in the eye. If they say something to you, say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Because if they didn't, if they would have just said, well, yes or no, or to look them in the eye, it could have been an Emmett Till situation, either with my mom, her sibling, or her aunt and uncles.
Right.
This is in the 50s.
Exactly.
Okay?
This is not ancient history.
And my mom's still alive. My aunt's still alive. She in that room.
Yeah.
But you're gonna say it's embellished, and this is after slavery.
Exactly. That's the part that gets me. Okay, you don't want to deal with slavery. It's not like 1865 happened and everything was hunky dory. People act like the Red Summer didn't happen.
My grandmother was born in 1878.
Oh wow.
I lived with my grandparents before she died. My grandmother was born in 1878.
Nice. So
I lived with my grandparents.
It's just The more I was this whole situation, this whole past couple of weeks, right? Like my initial stance was, why do we care what this girl has to say? But it's undug a lot of stuff, a lot of how people think, and it's like I don't understand. Like I don't. It's just baffling to me. You know what I'm saying? Just how people don't want to be who they are, and that's not to say that you can have different beliefs, you can have different political, religious, social, whatever. But to just, I mean, I've heard people on some of these streams not want to admit that they were black. Like, what?
Doug has already put in there that there are several people even now who say don't admit that slavery happened. They're talking the indigenous movement. The hell? And I talked about how my daughter graduated from high school 2012, but when she was in high school, coming to me talking about how the history books were rewriting it and saying that it wasn't referred to slavery as, to that point, indigenous movement or something like that,
Right.
instead of
Here,
calling it slavery.
here's the thing about that. From what I understand about this thing, that some black people were indigenous. Is that true? Sure. But
Yes.
and sure, yeah, there are black people already here. But
Right.
let's not discount. And from what I understand, like the numbers of black people that were brought over here, the estimate is somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000. And then the way the American slavery system worked, basically they bred slaves. They didn't just keep bringing them; they bred them. That's from the research I've done and what I understand. My
Yes.
point is, those people still existed.
Yes.
Okay, let's say so what we were taught, that millions and millions were brought over here. Okay, that wasn't factually true. It was 400,000. That's still 400,000 people. 400,000
And
human beings.
and like you said, when they were here, when they gave birth to their children were born as property also.
Right.
How
Right.
dare you?
You were born as a piece of property. And then let's not talk about a lot of the inbreeding that occurred. I mean, where the term MF where that comes from.
Mm. What?
But it doesn't matter.
Wait a minute. Back that up.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah, a lot of the breeding farms that happen. A lot of times, you would have they would call them bucks, but they were used to impregnate the female slaves, and sometimes sons were forced to impregnate their mothers or their sisters. They didn't, or another relative. So that's where that term, from what I understand, that's where that term MF comes from.
Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. Well, I just, like I said, I said it once, I said it again. This ain't even about Pearl no more.
Yeah, listen. I've been off of her. I mean, at first, I mean, I don't expect. It's almost like I put it like this. I don't expect every pit bull is not gonna bite you, but when one bites somebody, I'm not shocked.
Ooh, then you better say that.
You know what I'm saying?
You better say it because it's a dog.
Right, and they're known to, in certain situations, bite. Same thing with white people. I don't paint, because you mentioned that you have a very close friend that's white. I
I have
have
several.
I have I
Several.
have I have a couple of close friends that are, well, one, they're like half white, but they could pass as white. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? They were grooms in my wedding with friends, but like and so I don't paint all white people with
A,
this
a
brush
wide brush. Yeah.
or racist. But when white people say or do some stuff that can be considered racist, overtly, or uh um what's the word I'm looking for? Not overt, the opposite of overt.
Covert.
Covert. Yeah, I'm not shocked. Like, I don't. Where does all this racial naivety come from? Especially
One of
from
the things
especially from an upper middle class Midwestern girl. Like, okay, she she agrees with some things with Nick Fuentes. Are you surprised by that?
and peep game, I was in the military, and I remember when I went to basic training, there were people who had never, because again, we from all over the country, people who had never even seen Black people until they went until they joined the military and had to serve with them.
Yeah,
So
I believe
with
that.
that, they had their preconceived notions about what Black people were.
Exactly.
They did. Some of them were out in the open with it. Some of them were covert with it. Some minds changed over time, and some didn't.
Right. I I never served in the military, but I know I've heard stories of people flying this having swastikas. Now I don't know how that makes any sense, but you know,
They're everywhere.
it is
But
what it
one of the
is.
things I was saying is that the situation with Pearly things, in my opinion, is she's just the shoe that stepped on the anthill, meaning there was stuff going on beneath the surface like ants on an anthill. You only see part of it, and you may not even see part of it, but the
Right.
ants are underneath. And when you disturb it, that's when they converge on you. Pearly was the shoe that stepped on the anthill to uncover what was going on beneath the surface between us folk. Period.
Right.
That's just it. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
It disgusting and disappointing to say the least. It's like I just don't know. And like I said, it's got it. Some of it just has to. You just willfully ignorant.
Yeah. You know what? I saw that movie. You're right. Mandingo also portrayed that part when the slave master breed his Mandingo fighter back to, oh my God,
Yeah.
and his mother and sister to get purebred Mandingos. My Lord.
Yeah. That was a thing.
But it was embellished.
Oh, okay. I don't know. That particular part has just been frustrating me, right? And I like I heard on another stream that there are pro black people who are like uppercase pro black, and then black people who are like lowercase pro black, and that the uppercase black or that it's B1 and they're like actively doing things to progress black people, but then you got lowercase black people who are living their lives but who want to see black people do better, who want to see the black community progress, right? So I guess you would call I'm not gonna put race in front of everything, but
Right.
I'm definitely a pro black in the sense I want people, my community to prosper, to do better, to you know, grow.
Yes.
But I'm starting to think, do a lot of these people actually want that?
Um,
I don't.
I think that some are only concerned about the dollar. The only color they're concerned about is green, in my opinion. Because I'm looking here in the chat and people are talking about, shout out to M Mills. She said that she was at Fort Hood in the 80s. I was at Fort Hood in the 90s and learned really quickly, be careful in small towns. So it begs the question again.
Yeah, sometimes sundown towns will exist.
But it begs the question. If things are bad for Black people, well, considerably better, but if things were bad for Black people after slavery, even up until the 60s, 70s, and depending on where you are, even now, what makes you think that it was embellished when slavery was happening? I need to understand that.
And if it's embellished, then why were the lingering effects so long? Let's just use our common sense here.
I don't. I'm with you on that. So again, I don't understand it. Again, let's real quick. I'm gonna change lanes real quick. Let's talk about reparations for just a quick second. Shout out to Sarah Garvey when he was asking her what her thoughts about reparations. Well, really, and she said reparations. So in other words, everybody else is okay to get their money, but when it came to Black people, so it seems that's how I interpreted it, that she was not cool with that. So it begs the question, if it's not necessary, and again, shout out to Courtney Michelle, why did slave owners get it
Exactly.
because they lost revenue, because they lost the ability to make money because of their slaves. But
It,
the slave owners can get it because they lost money because they lost their slave. But the people who were actually slaves and couldn't make money can't, ain't, or their descendants are not worth it. Because here's the thing, I think Courtney talked about in England, the loan that was paid, um, that just got finished being paid off. Clearly, those descendants are from the people who own slaves. Those people are
right.
dead. So
It,
their
so
descendants can reap the benefit of that.
so there goes the argument, and I this argument annoys me every time I hear it. Well, why do you need to get paid for something you never went through? That argument goes
Yeah,
out the window with that.
yes,
These
absolutely,
people,
because
oh,
their descendants got the money
right, or the
from
argument,
their
well, I
ancestors who lost out because of their slaves were freed.
right, or the argument of, well, my family never owned slaves. Well, some of the people that family who did, their children and grandchildren and great grandchildren are just now done getting paid.
Hello.
And that whole concept of because I didn't go through it, or because you didn't earn it, then therefore you don't need to get it. Well, that just destroys the entire concept of an inheritance.
Speak on it.
I don't think people actually think of, because the talking points are so embedded. They don't think about what they're saying until they don't really think it through. Okay, so if I didn't earn it, I literally didn't earn it. Therefore, I don't deserve it. Why are so many conservative people so against the death tax? What does it matter? You didn't earn it. Why is
Hello,
so if
hello.
so if my dad has $1 million life insurance policy. Well, take it off of me. If let's say some white person, their parents have $1 million life insurance policy, they pass, and the government just comes in and take it, they can just say, "Hey, you didn't earn this."
There you go. Doug and Doug and where'd the other gentleman go? Who was dropping the and Hatch Dragon? They just dropping the science today. Thank you. They dropping the science today. I appreciate you. Hit the like
Je-
button.
Jedi Mike in the chat said uppercase with question mark. I mean, this way I heard it, and it made a lot of sense. Uppercase in that they're on the front lines. They're the people that
Mm,
are the activist types, the ones that are trying to move the needle. Right? Everybody can't do that, but they're the ones who are actively on the front lines for Black people. Those would be like the uppercase kind of pro-Black type of people. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
it
that
does.
makes it's a
And
loose definition, but it makes sense when they said it. Like, okay, that makes sense. And talking about, well, what does it mean to be pro-Black? And like Courtney said, if pro just means you're for. I don't know. Well, apparently these Black people exist. You can disagree with someone's ideology and still be for Black people. I don't understand this. Why is this an issue? Like
okay,
okay,
the
the Nation of Islam didn't agree with the civil rights movement, but they were both pro-Black.
there you go. There you
What's the
go.
issue? What's the problem?
There you go. Listen, Hatch Dragon, you gonna have me reading some books in the next couple of days because I need to get a hold of it. I need to get a hold of it. And again, I don't. Nobody is saying. No one is saying because we understand slavery happened that is a crutch that means that we just can't that we should just rest on our laurels and do nothing.
Exactly.
Ain't nobody saying that.
Who's made that argument?
Ain't nobody saying because we acknowledge that slavery happened that we don't have a responsibility to get to work and do some stuff. But how dare you say, because we acknowledge that it did happen and we have stories that our families have told us that means we're being perpetual victims, or
Yeah,
the fact that it's embellished. How dare you? I
yeah.
don't want or need your support. Unsubscribe. Because let me tell you something. I'm a grandmother now. My granddaughter is going to know about her grandfather.
Exactly.
She going to know because by knowing that, she won't take nothing for granted. Nothing.
And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're just they are just like I say, taking it for granted. They just dismissing the people that. And you know what? I wonder if people that went through it could see how a lot of these, I almost said niggas, a lot of these Negroes are acting and just disrespecting their sacrifice, and just would they even go? They could go back. Would they even do it? Like, what was the point? If a good number of our descendants are going to dismiss it and act like it doesn't matter, then why even go through it?
And here's the thing, I'm getting mad at just talking about it, because had my grandfather and his brothers not fled after slavery, who's to say that I would even be here?
Exactly. A lot of us
Because,
wouldn't.
because they was looking for him. They was looking for him.
Yeah. If they're finding, you know what would happen. And here's the thing about it: nothing would have happened. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. T.S. Johnson.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I love a lot of his work. But he talked about the when they found Emmett Till's body, the most disturbing part wasn't just that Emmett Till's body got found. They found a lot of other unidentified Black boys in that same place. That part don't get talked about.
And
that wasn't the only body in that river.
Again, and this is after slavery. And you just made me think about another story. See, I got family stories.
Yeah.
My uncle, my mother's brother, was in the military during Vietnam era, was stationed in Kentucky. This is after slavery. Okay. Stationed in Kentucky. Again, my mom and them, they grew up in California. Okay. My uncle was stationed in Kentucky, was walking down the street. I forget what part of Kentucky, walking down the street, and some man asked him, white man, asked him what time it was. My uncle looks at his watch to give him the time. The man snatches his watch off his hand and says, "Nigger, you ain't supposed to be having no watch, and you don't need you. When you saw me walking, you should have walked to the other side of the street." Well, my uncle, they grew up in California. So guess what he did? He hit him. Guess what happened after that? My uncle had to run all the way back to the base. And then they had to get him up out of Kentucky because they was looking for him.
Yep.
This is all after slavery, you hear?
Right.
So if this happened after slavery, are you trying to tell me with a straight face that during slavery was embellished? When they really had no rights because they was property. And some people have the unmitigated gall to say, well, Pearl said it. It's been said that slaves even went back to their owners because their owners treated him so good to thank them. What? What? Oh, but let me do this. You said, young lady, that you should have had Sarah Garvey talk about that. But now, because he whistle blew, everything he says has no credibility.
Exactly. How convenient.
Because he blew the whistle. Toot toot. Now, nothing he says is credible. And I happen to see, I'm digressing, but since I got to go ahead and go there. I happen to see that this person wrote in the chat, does a disgruntled employee, what kind of credence or something like that do they have if they're a disgruntled employee or a bitter ex-friend or a bitter friend? But does that mean that what they said wasn't true?
Exactly.
Because I've been a whistleblower. I've needed people to protect me. I had to protect whistleblowers. Does that mean that they weren't telling the truth?
And these are coming from some of the same people that say don't attack the messenger, attack the message.
Mhm.
So which one is it?
Just because you
When
don't like what he did don't mean what he said wasn't true.
exactly, is it true or is it not?
You have a right not to like it. You have a right to be offended by it. You have a right to be betrayed if so you feel. But does that mean what he said wasn't true? When I blew the whistle, the leadership had a right not to like it. They had a right to defend themselves. But did it mean what I said wasn't true? No, it didn't, because the investigation proved that it was. But again, generally, when people blow the whistle, the people in leadership are not going to say, well, yeah, you're right. We messed up there. We shouldn't have done that. Yeah, our practices were wrong. We were misuse of funds, violation of authority. No, you're not going to say that. What you're going to do is make the person who blew the whistle try to look like they the wrong one or they the problem. How do you know this, TJ? Because I've been there. I've been there. I've been the whistleblower, and I've had to protect those who blew the whistle. So I'm not new to this game. I'm not stupid. I just look this way. So try again. Just because you don't like it don't mean it ain't true. I don't know if it's true. You know it's true. If it's true, he knows if it's true. But here's the one thing I will tell you, though. What he said was based on his experience. He never maligned y'all. He never said nasty things about, like, ad hominems, as y'all say. But that's all y'all been doing with this young man.
Right.
That's all y'all been doing.
Listen. It's like I said, it's just disappointing. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know what to do. Like I said, I'm just a rank and file dude, so I don't know what to. I know what to do, how to in my move personally, but as a collective, God forbid we think as a collective on anything,
well,
I don't know what to do with that.
Well, shout out to El Wapo. And again, one of the things watching his most recent videos reminded me of is you work within your circle of influence. You work within your circle of influence, the people that you can reach out and touch, whether it be in this space, whether it be in your own life. Because again, it reminded me what my mom has told me in the last couple of years that I started my channel. If I only reach 50 people, those are the 50 people I was intended to reach. And that's the impact that I choose to make, because when you make an impact on those 50, you empower them to go make an impact on another 50.
Right.
Those who don't want to get it, no matter. And as I told Sarah Garvey in my brief communication with him, I said, you can spill all the truth you want. If they don't want to hear it, they ain't hearing it. So don't waste your breath. Don't waste your breath. So that's what I'm doing. That's what you're doing. Because see, if we and that's what Courtney's doing and Lucky's doing, because if we try to think at large, it's too much. It's insurmountable.
Yeah.
It's insurmountable. But see, the thing, you don't have to agree with my point of view. Like I said, me and my husband, we've had spirited conversation because he's more conservative, I'm more liberal.
Right.
But we made a promise. We ain't gonna let nothing outside affect what's going on inside. See,
right.
we've forgotten that. We can disagree, but now we just gotten, everybody can see and just fodder.
Everybody's allowed to be part of the conversation.
And they laughing at us.
That was my initial initial thoughts about the whole thing, and the response when that first weekend happened said, this makes us look weak, because we're allowing ourselves to knee jerk in our response instead of strategic, in my opinion. But and also too, it makes us look weak in that it's for everyone to see.
Public consumption. I swear. It's public consumption.
Like even if you
Black Dictionary. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. Black Laws Dictionary. I never heard of that. Yeah, just like okay, fine. If you felt a way about it, a lot of these people in these spaces have each other's numbers. You know what I'm saying? They have each other's contact. Get on the phone. Why are we broadcasting this thing to the world? But I guess that's what we do now. We put everything on Front Street.
We do. So
transparency is a good thing in some situations, but not in every situation.
That's what I guess initially I was gonna say I'm old school, but again, there's some old fools out here putting stuff on Front Street, so I can't even say that.
Okay, yeah.
I can't even say that.
Yeah, Alan keeps saying a lot. He says he's younger than me. He's 29. He said a lot of these dudes should be my elders, and I can't even.
Ain't nothing worse than an old fool.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up because I know I think my girl Courtney Michelle or Lucky they doing a show tonight. Hatch Dragon and Doug, y'all have given me some homework and I'm on it.
Oh, they're dropping gems in the chat.
Dropping gems, and we got to I think if we spend too much time on the social media, our brains become atrophied or whatever. We need to detach.
Yeah, get back into the real world a little bit.
I'm not even gonna watch TV tonight. I'm gonna do some reading.
Yeah,
anyway. I'm gonna do some reading. Yes, Hatch Dragon. You and Doug have been putting some stuff on my mind. I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna go back to the live chat and get a copy of all these books that you suggested. Either I'm the kind of person I like. Hold on a minute, where are my books? I like hard copy books. It's nice to have the electronic, but I like pages. I like the feel of pages so I can highlight and stuff. So
yeah, I like audiobooks. I do the Audible subscription, so that's it. The information soaks in better to me if I hear it.
I have that too, especially like when I'm on a long drive. I have that too. That too. But when I'm sitting outside on my patio with some cup of coffee or whatever, I have my feet kicked up and have some pages. Yeah. But anyway, Doug, I'm gonna go ahead and drop you. Thank you so much for coming up and sharing your thoughts. I appreciate it. And no, slavery wasn't embellished.
Right.
And I am offended.
Yeah. I wish you just keep. If you can't treat it with respect, just keep it out your mouth. How about that? You ain't got to voice your comment on everything. Anyway, let me get out. I'll probably get pissed again. Let me get out of here.
Okay. Thanks for coming up.
Appreciate it.
I'm offended. On behalf of my grandfather, my great-grandparents, uncles, even on behalf of my mom, who dealt with the aftermath. I'm offended. I am freaking offended. So when I log off, I expect to see my subscriber count go down. And I'm okay with that. Because see, this is a hobby for me. I'm retired. I do whatsoever I want to do. So I expect to see my subscriber count go down, and that's okay. You don't have to agree with everything I'm saying, but you do not disrespect the plight of the ancestors. How dare you? How dare you? Don't disrespect the plight of the ancestors. All right, hit the like button. Hit the the like button. Thank y'all for stopping by. You know how I do it. I got to shout out my my firstborn nephew. I want y'all to, if you haven't heard my firstborn nephew song, Sunshine and Rain, this is on the outro. His song, Noun, is on the intro. He's a saxophonist. Ryan Spunk Adams, he was my baby before I had a baby. Follow him on Instagram under I Am Spunk. He flies all over the country for his music, so if you are so inclined, check him out. But here's his song, Sunshine and Rain. Until next time, ciao for now.
Said I got a story to tell. You don't hear me. Said I got a story about a girl. Yeah. Check. See, I've been up all night typing this love letter. Hoping you open the message saying I love you better. You've been keeping me on red. I know I'm out the picture. Ain't nothing worse than the wave, just a request. I started on a nigga wave like a drop by. Saw you out, so I figured out I'd say hi. Ain't no pressure, just want a good time. Something we get to share up on a timeline. She's my type of girl. Magic carpet around the world. She'll show you things that you can't imagine. Straight hair or fancy curl, bright as diamonds, clutch as pearls. She's my one and only digital girl. My sunshine and the rain. Sunshine and the rain. My sunshine and the rain. Oh, my. My sunshine and the rain. Sunshine in the rain.
First we outside, you beaming your light, giving me shades of dope. Now I'm walking in pools of water, my Yeezy. So, you had a faith that get Jesus hope, but the devil is pleased. I'm on my knees, I intercede for our peace. Girl, your love is the antidote. Body like a goddess, your beauty on displays in the finest museums. You shining like discos, but who knew that through the fire, all the grow this froze. Don't wrap your envelope, baby, let's disclose. I don't beat around bushes, no babe, I don't tiptoes. Not a ballerina, but I see balances drop jaws from your spoken words that rain dancing in tip jars. I applaud you, but these problems we face feeling so colossal. You push shovels with dirt, digging on my fossils. Every hurt I try and fix, you say I scarred you. I've dropped downs before, don't tell me that I lost you. It's two sides to every coin, and every road's gonna have its thorns. I'm placing these stems, my palms bleed. Maybe your rain can rinse these stains from these leaves, cause I still need my sunshine and the rain. My sunshine and the rain. Sunshine, my sunshine and the rain. Yeah. My sunshine and the rain.